City Changes Its Face is set over a long rainy night in Camden in 1996. We spend the night with Eily, who's a 20-year-old drama student, and Stephen, who's a 40-year-old actor. And they've been together for about 2 years. And this is the night when they have a conversation about what's going wrong. We meet Stephen and Eily in The Lesser Bohemians when they don't know each other. They're perfect strangers to each other, and they go through a long and tumultuous getting together process. So I suppose I wanted to revisit their story after The Lesser Bohemians because I've always been very interested in what happens next in any story. If I love a set of characters, I always want to know what happens when the curtain comes down or the book finishes or the cinema lights come up. Given that they had such a tempestuous beginning to their relationship, it was fascinating to go back and see how that played out 2 years later. It's just interesting to me to see love evolving over a period of time from that very first hot and passionate and exciting tempestuous time into a time that is more settled, that is more grounded in an emotional intimacy, but is also not without its problems because every relationship is a living thing and, of course, nothing stays the same forever. Well, London is very central to The City Changes Its Face, just as it was to The Lesser Bohemians. It's in the 90s, which was a very extraordinary time to be young. I suppose for me it felt completely natural that it became part of the story of that relationship as well. You know, it's the city that they both ran to escape their pasts and to become themselves. But in The City Changes Its Face, it also takes on a slightly different quality, that it is the world on the outside of the room. It's encroaching in on them, that it's not always quite as easy and fun as it was in the past, that the city, their attitude to the city changes as much as the attitude towards each other, that it's an evolving thing. So the 90s is, of course, a big part of the story as well. It would be a different story if I was trying to tell it now. And part of that is to do with technology and the absence of technology. I really wanted to write a novel about intimacy and physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. And I think those stories would be told in a very different way if people were texting each other or FaceTiming each other, or if there was, social media. Those relationships are not as intense. Before technology, people had to learn about each other from each other. They had to be in each other's company, and people could tell you things, but really your experience of another person came firsthand. And nowadays, that's not the case. Nowadays, we can Google each other. We can know all the truths and the falsehoods about each other. And that colours the relationships we have. And I didn't want any of those things to be in between Eily and Stephen. I want them to be relating to each other simply as they are. The 90s are vital to the story in that regard. And also, it was a more carefree time in a lot of ways. And I wanted them to be able to focus on the inner world and to the relationship and to the life inside their flat together, and not be weighed down by the terrors of the world outside the way we are today. I think all of my novels are, and perhaps all novels generally, are about people who feel on the outside of the world that they live in. There are often themes of people who survive, and I think that's very important to me, to write about the life after, in the way that The City Changes Its Face is about love after the moment of falling into it and all the excitement of that. I'm also interested in people who continue on after bad things happen in their lives, people who carry those things with them, who are changed by them, but who also seek to overcome them or absorb them into themselves so they don't feel lost and cut off from their own pasts. And many of my characters are people who are bringing difficult pasts with them and seeking to find a way to move forward in life and not be completely in hock to that past, to not feel as though it's something they can never get beyond.